it's time for a recent reads video or a wrap up of what I've been reading. So welcome. So I've realized that I made a wrap up video way back a few months ago, so we will have a few books to talk about because I've been reading, though it doesn't feel like I'm reading that much. I've been reading, so we'll start, so this video won't be that long. So the first book I'm gonna talk about that I've also made a book review on my channel, so I will just mention it, is the Drawing of the Tree, The Dark Tower, Part 2. I read that book, I don't know, maybe in March, I guess it was. So yes, I really enjoyed it the second time I read it. I will, if you want to know more about the book, go and check out the review that I have made. Then I made a reading vlog on when I read The Sleepless by Victor Manibo. So if you want to see what I think of that, because it was my first ever sci-fi thriller and I really enjoyed it. I want to read more of those. So yes, I really enjoyed it, gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. And I read that around April to May. I read that book. Then I read in May now, I also read Zodiac by a Swedish author called Ulf Kvensler. This is a thriller that I read together with a friend. I really enjoyed it, gave it 4.5 stars. It would have been a 5-star if the end hadn't been what it was. I really enjoyed the book. I couldn't stop reading it when I read it, but the thing that made it a 4.5 star is the ending. I didn't like it. Then I read a book together with another friend called Himlabrand by Moa Backe Åstad. It's a Swedish young adult book that I've been wanting to read for a while. So in June I read that book together with a friend. It wasn't that long, so it didn't took me that long to read it. So yes. Then while I was reading that book with another friend, I also had an audiobook going on called American Demon, Elliot Ness and the Hunt for America's Jack the Ripper. Here's the thing, the first part of the book, as I remember, I thought it was pretty slow for me and pretty jarring or even boring. Then the second half of the book was a lot better, and I couldn't really stop listening to the book, as I remember, because then it got more intriguing to me. So the first part was a bit boring, then the second part was much better, so I gave that book 3 stars on Goodreads. I'm glad I read it, but it wasn't like the best book I've ever read. Though I thought I would like it even more because I talked about it in another video where I'm talking about the new releases, and so yes, but I'm glad I read it because in all sense I did think it was interesting. So yes. Then I also read Ormen Friske by Jack Vanner, and it's the same with this Swedish book. I would say the first part was boring, and the second half was much better. Though the narrator that read the book, I really loved that voice, so even though the first part was boring, it was fine. Then I did a reread of no, I'm just kidding. I didn't do a reread. I continue a trilogy called Av stjärnstoffet är vi komna by Amandizan. And I gave that book 5 stars after having like 2 books that wasn't that good. They were good, but it wasn't that good. This book was just what I needed. It was really good. It had fake dating in it and if I'm going to read a romance, fake dating is like one of my favorite tropes. Then I read Felsteg by Maria Adolfsson, and I will put in the American title because it's been translated. But for me, this book wasn't. I was hoping that it was going to be very good, but it wasn't. Like, there were parts in this book that I really enjoyed, but for the most part, it was a very slow book, and it was only the last 30 pages of this book that I felt like were really interesting, and that made me really want to read it. But I wasn't. The book was too slow for me, so I gave that book 5. No, I gave that book 3 stars. Will I continue the series? Maybe, but not in the nearest future. So then we have I read 500 Miles from You by Jenny Colgan. Here's the thing, I did read this book, but I listened to it in Swedish on audiobook. Here's the thing, I really enjoyed it. It was so good. It was so good. I read the first one like maybe 2 years ago. I loved that one, Current Thief. Then I read or listened to the second book and didn't like it that much. But the third book about Current Thief, I really enjoyed. Then I made a reading blog on what I'm reading Feed by New Flesh by Mira Grant. So I will not talk too much about it. I gave that book 4 stars. I did enjoy it, but I'm not gonna continue the series now. Maybe in the future, give it 4 stars. Then I did a reread together. I mean, I've read that book, but my friend that I was reading it with hadn't read it. So, Nattväkten by Ramona Evender. I hope that this book will go into translations one day, so more people can read it, because it was a good thriller, and yeah, it's one of the best books I've read. Yeah. And then I read The Wastelands, The Dark Tower, Part 3, and oh my god, I really enjoyed that book. It was so good. The second book is good, but the third book, it was even better. Gave it 5 stars. So that is all the books I've been reading recently. I've tried to not to make this a long video, but there's been a few books I've been reading recently since my last wrap up, so yeah, it might be a longer video. I hope you're okay with that. What have you been reading recently? Let me know in the comments. Have you read any of these books I've been talking about? Let me know in the comments. Please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and share my videos. And I will see you next time in a new video. Thank you so much for watching.